Mary Kay Cabot, Cleveland Plain Dealer, Cleveland.com. On the fan hotline. Hello, Mary Kay.
Hey, guys. How you doing?
Do you think Kevin Stefanski is egotistical?
No, I don't. I really don't. I think that's why at a time like this, he willingly gives up play calling. He doesn't care who calls the plays as long as the job gets done. So, no, I don't think his ego is involved in this at all.
Okay.
So, Mary Kay, that this is 2 years in a row. When this happens, first of all, I don't even know how often that's ever happened, but when these types of things happen in the NFL, it normally means that a coach is on his last legs. I mean, do you see that as being the case despite what the owner has said and despite the times where they've got the vote of confidence?
I don't, just because they don't have their quarterback yet, and it's really hard to hold someone's feet to the fire when you're cycling through quarterbacks, when you're starting rookie quarterbacks, and when you're just waiting for the next rookie quarterback to come by. So I really don't think that this was a season in which they were expecting Andrew and Kevin to take this team to the Super Bowl. I really think that this was a season in which they were retooling and kind of hitting the reset button a little bit and trying to win as many games as they possibly could in the beginning. But it didn't work out the way anybody wanted to. So, no, I don't think that Jimmy is poised to fire Kevin after the season. Now, having said that, you never really know what an owner is thinking, and you never really know how things go at the end of the season when you do your after-action report and you all sit down and you put your heads together. So I can't sit here and guarantee that's not going to happen, but I really don't think that's what the vibe is.
Mary Kay Cabot on the fan hotline. What do they expect Tommy Rees to do different with this offense?
Well, first of all, I think I'm not going to say that it was a ceremonial change, but I do think that they had to do something. And they're not 100% sure if it's going to work at all. He's never called plays before in the NFL. But I do think that one of the things that I've been writing and saying about this is the fact that he's fresh out of the college ranks, and you're dealing with two really young quarterbacks right now, and to a certain extent, Bailey Zappi is a pretty young quarterback. So Tommy is fresh out of the college ranks, called plays at Alabama in 2023, understands the college quarterback mindset. He was one himself. And I think that he knows what these guys are thinking, how they're thinking, and what they're going through. So I think that will help him. I also think he'll probably run the ball a little bit more, maybe stick with it at times when Kevin would go away from it. And you don't have to stick with it in the conventional sense. You can try different things. I would be using more of Malachi Corley. I mean, he gained 31 yards on that jet sweep in New England. I would like to see more of those things. I have to think that Tommy will be trying to find other ways to accomplish the ground game. And then if the receivers aren't going well, I don't think you can keep forcing it and beat your head against the wall. They brought Brendan Bates back. If they have to run some 13 personnel, some 3 tight end sets and do some things like that, then so be it. So I think that he needs to put a new spin on this offense and his own spin on it. And Kevin said yesterday he will let him do that.
Mary Kay Cabot joining us on the show. So in that sense, I know Lima kind of said, is Kevin coaching for his job right now?
Again, I really don't think so, because even when we talked to Jimmy at the owners' meetings, I think it was, and we asked him that question point blank, and he basically said, we are thinking a lot about 2026 and that QB class and our 2 first-round picks. Or at that point, they didn't have the 2 first-round picks yet. They didn't have the second one yet. But he absolutely 100% was looking towards the future and that draft in 2026 when perhaps they can find their quarterback of the future.
So you would say that Tommy Rees is not coaching for Kevin's job?
You know what? We can speculate all we want. I really highly doubt that's the case. I really don't think that's what's going on here. I think that Jimmy would like to maintain continuity in this organization. He likes the way Kevin and Andrew work well together, and they do at times like Kevin as the sort of CEO coach, which he is more so now with Tommy calling the plays. But I actually think if they did get the quarterback that they want and are very hopeful about their rookie quarterback next year and starting him, if I were Kevin, I'd probably take play calling back and start all over with it. So let's see how this goes with Tommy and not put the cart before the horse and have him in Kevin's job just yet.
All right, Mary Kay, overall trade deadline came and went, and they weren't really buyers, but they also didn't really do the wholesale sell-off that you saw with the Jets, who removed two of their young, talented defensive players. So what'd you make of how they operated at the deadline?
Well, first of all, I mean, I had been writing and saying for a couple of weeks that they planned to be buyers at the trade deadline. It was a headline I put on my Browns Insider on like Sunday, the Sunday before the trade deadline or whatever. So that wasn't news when 2 days beforehand they were going to be buyers at the trade deadline. I probably said it on this show a few times. And they tried to be buyers. They tried to add a couple of other players that would be sort of in the vein of a Tyson Campbell, who could come in here and help them this year and then also help them for several years down the road. But none of those things came to fruition. It was not without trying, because they really did try. And then I had also been saying, writing, and probably on this show as well, that they weren't going to sell off David Njoku. They weren't going to sell off Wyatt Teller. And they weren't going to trade Myles Garrett. But people didn't really necessarily want to believe that, but that was the strategy going in, to add a couple of players and to hang on to these guys that might be able to help them in the future. Maybe you go ahead and you re-sign David and Wyatt and the rest of the offensive line, or as many of them as you can get under contract, and some of these guys will still be pieces for a few years going forward.
Mary Kay Cabot with us on the show. Yeah, you mentioned Wyatt. What about like Alex Wright? I think he's played well. Have you heard anything about them extending him?
No, I haven't heard anything yet about them extending him. But sometimes once you get past the trade deadline and you see what happened and you see what you have, then you move towards thinking about extension. And then with some of these guys, the thing that you want to do, and maybe they'll do this with David, is you want to let them see what they can get on the open market. And once they see what their price is going to be, then they might be a little bit more motivated to sign with their existing team at a price that maybe they thought wasn't going to be enough. So sometimes that's part of the strategy.
Mary Kay Cabot with us right now on the hotline. So I do find it interesting as we are getting ready for this game. It's the Jets. There's this discussion in town, in both towns really, about tanking and trying to lose. And obviously we know the Browns aren't trying to do that. It was nice to hear what David Njoku said yesterday about, wanting to be here. It still seems like some guys have a buy-in to this town and this coaching staff. So do they need to win this week? Is it like a must-win to kind of preserve that with so many games left on the season?
Well, I am a must-win purist. I say that all the time, on whatever, our podcasts and things like that, that I'm a must-win purist. I think it's an overused phrase, and I only use it when you are facing absolute elimination from playoff contention. Otherwise, it's just thrown around even in week 2 sometimes. So I don't like to think of this as a must-win game. But certainly if you lose this game, you are really pretty much saying goodbye to your, not that they necessarily have legit playoff chances right now, but if you lose this game, you're really putting yourself behind the 8 ball. And the only reason why I even say that they're not there yet is because the AFC North has just been so weird this year. I do think that the Ravens will have an opportunity to perhaps maybe separate themselves a little bit going forward, but it's just been so up and down and not the way anybody expected it to go, that you can't completely 100% rule the Browns out yet. If they stacked some victories, they could at least put themselves back in the conversation. And I do think that the vibes on the team are good. You've got guys like Quinshon Judkins saying, I want to finish my career here. He's a rookie. You've got David saying that I would be terrified, although I think that was a little bit of hyperbole, that he would be terrified to be traded. He wants to be here. A lot of these guys want to remain here and see this thing through, and I think that's a good sign.
Mary Kay Cabot with us on the show. As this show knows, so you never want to be behind the 8 ball, usually on top of it. Mary Kay, with this team, should I be an excitable... You know me. I'm a very loud person, and I get very excited when the Browns win. Should I be an excited person on Monday if they win? Or because I don't think I should. I think I'm in evaluation mode, and it's like, okay, let's see what's going on. Because I don't know how much is going to change with this offense. I don't think that highly of Dylan Gabriel in terms of him being a answer. I think he's a backup quarterback, not a franchise quarterback, and I think that probably once you get figured out as a backup quarterback, it's going to start to look risky. I think they can win, certainly. The Jets are bad, but I also think that we're going to see more of the same fare and still be pretty frustrated by the quarterback play.
Well, that could very well be the case, and I'm very interested to see what Tommy is going to bring to the table and how things can change, because it's not like they went out and traded for Garrett Wilson and he's coming in to save them. It's not like they went out and got a veteran quarterback who's coming in to save them. So they have to work with what they have, and what they have hasn't worked to this point. So I don't know if you're going to see some kind of a dramatic change. What I will say, however, is the fact that they have just gone through the most grueling part of their schedule in the first half of the season. They had so many road games, and we know that they've lost 12 in a row on the road. So they can't win on the road right now, and we'll see if that changes on Sunday. But in terms of the one-loss record, they are heading into the easiest part of their schedule right now, except for maybe the Ravens are going to be tough, of course. But a lot of the teams that they have coming up are very, very winnable games against challenged teams. And so maybe Dylan will look better. Somehow, some way, he has to find a way to get it going with his receivers, and I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. I don't know if Jerry Jeudy is going to be any different in the second half than he was in the first half. But this is an easier stretch coming up.
All right, the Shedeur Sanders discussion this week seems to be about his back, limited in practice yesterday. He had the bye week. He was able to go home and surprise his dad, so he was able to apparently still get rehab while he was in Boulder. So where is he right now, Mary Kay? How significant is this injury?
Well, I watched him throw the ball yesterday and move through practice in the early part when we're allowed out there. He was upbeat. He was dancing between reps like he always does. He brings a sort of a light vibe to practice all the time. And, he looked like himself to me. He didn't look to be in any pain. And, I think they're just kind of taking it slow with him to try to get him to Sunday, which is what they would like to do. In a perfect world, they want him to be QB2 on Sunday, and they're moving towards that. So I think that's the plan, and my guess is that that's what will happen. But I also wouldn't rush it. If he has any kind of back discomfort whatsoever, I would go ahead and keep Bailey as the number 2 right now. There's no rush to have Shedeur be the number 2. I actually think in terms of somebody coming off the bench and getting thrown into a game cold, that Bailey might be best suited for that role just because he's done it so many times before. And when you see Shedeur play, you want him to be in sort of ideal conditions with a game plan designed for him.
Well, and as anybody who has ever been able to put on performance dancing for their friends or their family, the type of back injury that you might have could, depending on what the dance is, could have a significant, outcome on that.
What are you trying to say?
What was the dancing? Was it Running Man? Was it choreographed?
Watuupsi.
What did we see?
Now I'm participating.
Yeah.
They play great music during practice. They really do. So it keeps everybody going. No, it was not a dance that I necessarily recognized. He was just kind of moving a little bit the way that he does to stay loose and have a little bit of fun during practice. It was nothing. I don't even know if anybody else would notice it. I just so happened to be watching him a little bit.
Oh, you're on it, Mary Kay.
No, Mary Kay's on it. She knows.
Well, you know what? The funny thing is we are not allowed to even film the quarterbacks in these early drills handing off to running backs or throwing routes in individual drills. Like, we're not allowed to film a 5-yard out. We're not allowed to do that anymore. The only thing that we could film of Shedeur would be like him going through some warm-ups with the other quarterbacks. So, I mean, they really put the handcuffs on us this year.
Well, they can't. Yeah, Mary Kay, they can't give away state secrets. Meanwhile, down in Independence, Kenny Atkinson allows you to film the entire practice and actually participate in the practice. He actually tells you the inbounds plays and sees if you can run them. So it's a little bit different strategy.
It is a different strategy. So I'm not able to film the dancing. I may have captured a little bit of it one day. I'll go back on to in my phone and see if I can find some. But it's
I don't want you to get in trouble, Mary Kay. I do not need you to get stripped of your credentials for sharing the dancing.
Oh no, I would not do that. I know the rules, and I am a rules follower. Believe it or not, I am. And so no, I wouldn't do that. I'm allowed to film the dancing if it happens in between some warm-up reps, not between throwing a 10-yard out to a tight end or whatever.
I'm watching video of the Charleston right now. Not making that up. Go ahead, take a gander there, Tone. There it is. Boom. All right. Mary Kay, thank you very much for the time.
If we have any more questions about the dancing, can we reach out to you?
Sure, just go ahead and text me.
Have you ever seen Yo-Yo Ma in concert?
I have not, but I heard you guys talking about this earlier,
Yeah.
and there's a little known fact about me that you guys and your listeners will not care about one iota.
That's fine.
But I played 10 years of classical piano. Franz Liszt, Beethoven.
Whoa!
Congratulations on all your success.
Are you kidding me?
No, that is absolutely the truth. In fact, my piano teacher took her lessons from a student of Franz Liszt. She was a Hungarian woman in Lakewood, Ohio, and I took 10 years. I played 10 years of classical piano.
You know, we learn something new every day. I didn't learn to play any musical instruments. I had a harmonica, but that was it.
I knew you wouldn't care about that, and neither
I do care.
will your listeners.
Why wouldn't I care? I cared that Lima's wife plays piano. We don't even get along. Why wouldn't I care if you played piano? I care.
And actually, I was talking to Shedeur about that one day, and he found that kind of interesting because he plays the piano. So we kind of talked piano one day. We did not dance. We did not dance when we talked about it. We just talked piano a little bit.
That's nice. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a year behind the Greenbrier Waltz. Damn it.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, Mary Kay, thank you so much for the time. All the best.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
Bye, Mary Kay Cabot on the fan hotline.